Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Rivals of Ether workshop tutorial videos. In this part we will tackle basic character movement and setup for the character in general. You can already see I have quite the screen setup right here. I have Rivals on the top left. I have the unofficial manual on the bottom left, which will be linked in the description. It's a very important tool. I have the character folder open as well as the character open in GemEdit. Now let's first talk about how the character is structured. There are three main subfolders. One for the sounds, which all need to be in .ogg format. One for the strips, the animation strips, which all need to be horizontal and named underscore strip with the number of frames. And one with the scripts. This one will contain all the scripts necessary for the character, which all have fixed names. The game won't recognize scripts that aren't part of the basic script list, except for the ones in the attack folder, which will usually contain scripts named after the attack thereafter, but any script name is fine in here. They will all work. First of all, let's view the config file for the character, which will contain the character's metadata, such as the name, the description, which is what will show up in Steam, but also like you can just edit it on the website after. There's no need to like set this one up. There's the type, which defines if a workshop item is a character or something else. In this case, 0 is the character. Then you have the major and minor versions, which are, well, for version control of the character, is what Steam uses to check if your character is up to date and if you have the same version of a character when playing online. Then you have the URL, which is a unique identifier for each workshop item that is given to you when you upload. You have small sprites, which is a very important thing that allows you to keep the character the character sprites at 1x size and not times 2, because Rivals of Ether uses times 2 sprites in scale. But if you want to save space, this is a very useful option. It also has quicker load times. Then you have the author, which is just your username, and the info, which is the info tab here in the character select. Here you are supposed to put like important character information that should be accessed right away. Um, Everything else in here will either be tackled later or can be found here on the manual in the config.ini page, where you can also have a description for everything related to each tag. Now, let's tackle the first important script which you'll need to understand, that is load.gml. In this script, we will define the offsets for each sprite. If we didn't do that, the default offset is 0, 0, which is the top left of the sprite. You can see here, if I didn't define the offset, the sprite would not be aligned with the character. The offset of a sprite, the offset of a character sprite, let me get idle. The offset of a character sprite is usually between the character's legs here. So in this case, testers would be 2447, or in this case 23. So it's a bit moved to the here. So it's 2347. And if we use that value in game, you can see the sprite will be aligned correctly. Oh yeah, I need to also save the script. When doing changes, Ctrl S to save. And now it's aligned correctly. Next, let's tackle the character specifics. These are all the values that define how the character behaves in terms of movement and such, and also other things. First of all is the height. This is very important. It's a fixed value that tells you how tall the character is. It will offset the character arrow that's above, but also it will allow you to tell the game how tall the character is for special effects. So taking half of that value will allow you to get about the middle point of the character. Then you have the knockback adjustment, which is the weight. The higher this value, the lighter the character will be. 0.9 is what people refer to as crag weight, because it's the weight of crag, and it's actually very strong to have 0.9 weight. So when doing a character, consider well what kind of weight you want to give. One is Zetterburn weight. It's important because higher weight means you take less hit stun and also die less easily. Then you have the walk speed, which is just how fast the character walks, and the acceleration. Let's say if I wanna change the walk speed to 6 and have a lot of acceleration, you'll see the character accelerates to max speed a lot earlier. Then you have walk turn time, which is how many frames the character spends while turning around for the regular turnaround animation. You can press either select or backspace to go into frame by frame. Yeah, you can see it's exactly 6 frames, and it's important that it's 6 frames because 6 frames is the length of the Rivals buffer for inputs. Then you have the initial dash time and speed, which is how much time you spend in, you can see down there, dash start before entering dash. You can reference the values on the right for the intervals of base cast. In this template specifically, but also a lot of templates have this range. Then you have the turn time for dash turn. If you turn around, how long you'll stay in the dash turn state, and your acceleration for it. There's also the dash speed, which is how fast you move while in dash. Then you have the dash stop time, which is how long you'll stay in dash stop. The ground friction, which is just how much you slide on the ground. If we set this to 0, for example, you'll see that the character will keep the momentum regardless, since it has 0 friction. Then we have moonwalk acceleration, which is related specifically to moonwalking, which is when you do a quarter circle back down while dashing. Yeah, you can see it there. That's moonwalking, and it's how fast you accelerate backwards. Then you have the air movement variables. This is the max horizontal speed the character can have when leaving the ground off of a platform, how much speed the character will retain, which in this case is 6. Then there's the one after, max jump HSP, is the one the character can have after the jump. So like if we put this to 9, you can see here I'm not accelerating much, but I'm moving a lot faster after I jump than after I fall. Then we have air max speed, which is the max speed the character can have while airborne horizontally. If we put this to 9, then the character will tend to accelerate towards that speed when moving horizontally, kind of like Jigglypuff in Smash. Then we have the jump change, which, in case you don't know what a variable does, you can just go to the player variables section and look for it. In this case, it's the horizontal speed applied if left or right is held when jumping. So yeah, it's how much speed you'll have when turning while in the air after a jump. Then you have, well, the air acceleration, the pratfall acceleration, which is specifically when moving around in pratfall, which is the special fall state. Then you have the air friction, it's pretty self-explanatory. Max fall, which is the max vertical speed you can have while falling. In this case, it's 9, as you can see. Then you have the fast fall, which is the speed you get from fast falling, which is done by flicking the stick downwards, in this case 14. Then you have the gravity speed. 0.5 is like the default value. You can set a lower value, but it's important to keep, a value that's somewhat average, so you can control how the jumps behave more. Because low gravity, even with low jump speed, means very high jumps. And then you have hit stun gravity, which is the gravity you experience when you're in hit stun, so when an opponent has hit you. Next, for jump movement, jump start time is at 5, which is the time you spend while in jump start, which is the state right before jumping, the jump squat, which in this case, it's automatically decreased by 1, so in this case it's actually 4. Yeah. Then we have the jump speed, which is the vertical speed you get off of jump. If I were to set this to like 15, it would be a lot more jump. Short hop speed, which is the jump speed you get from the short hop. Then you have double jump speed, which is the vertical speed of the double jump acceleration, which is used specifically for ABSA. So how this works is that you have this acceleration value, you can set it to like minus 20 or minus 1. ABSA's is minus 1.4. What this does is while double jumping, you'll experience this acceleration in a direction at all times, or at least until the double jump reaches this many frames. So in this case, it wouldn't apply, but if I were to do like 5, you can see I accelerate upwards as well. This is because the coordinate system in Rivals is actually not positive upwards, but instead the y-axis points downwards. So going negative values means going upwards. The ABSA, if you want to mimic the ABSA double jump, you simply set this to a negative value, like minus 1. Then you have this for like, let's say 20 frames. You can see kinda like the ABSA double jump. Then you have this, which defines how many double jumps you have. Let me just reset the stats. So we are in a more controlled environment. Okay, this is how much double jumps you have. They reset automatically when grounded again. So I set it to 4. And I get 4 double jumps. Vraster gets 3, Eldiana gets 0, which is why the range is 0, 3. These are the speeds you get of wall jump, so vertically and horizontally. So this speed right here. This is the land time, which is how much time you spend in the landing state. In this case, 4 frames. And you go back to idle. I recommend keeping it in the range, because higher than 6 frames might eat some inputs because of how the Rivals buffer works. Then you have Prattland time. This is specifically the time you spend in land after you get out of Special Fall. So in this case, 10 frames. Next, you have the shield button actions, such as wave landing. In this case, so shield plus jump and a direction, wave land. The friction is how much your speed is reduced while wave landing. The speed you carry is the one you carry over from air dodge. And in this case, setting a negative value, for example, would make me accelerate. though it's barely noticeable. If I try like -2, you can see how much I accelerate while wave landing. This is the how much frames you spend in Waveland. And this, yeah, when you waveland, your horizontal speed gets a multiplier. In this case, it's 1.3. This is the range. So it's how much your speed, starting speed your waveland has, basically, relative to the air dodge speed. Next, we have the roll speed, which is two variables for roll forward and roll back. They're usually the same. Like, you don't really need to differentiate between the two rolls. Then you have, well, air dodge speed, which is just how much speed you get while air dodging. That if you were to set it to like a high value, you'd go farther, though it is always interrupted at the end. So it is just how much you travel. Also, air dodge and roll both last a set amount of time. You can't change how long they last normally. There are ways to do it, but they will not be covered in the basics section. And then you have the tech roll speed, which is the speed you get while rolling off of a tech, kind of like roll speed. Then you have the animation info. This is for how fast the animations will play. So in this case of this is the idle animation speed. So one thing about movement animations is that most of them play at a constant frame rate. So each frame is shown on screen for the exact same amount of time, animation frame, and this allows you to set how long each frame is shown for. So if I set this to 0.4, it's going to start accelerating a lot. Set this to 0.05, it's going to go slower. Same for the crouch loop, which Tester doesn't have. The walk animation. If I want, I could set this to 0.5. Then there's the dash loop and pratfall animation speed, which Tester also has. Yeah, because he moves slightly, but it's how fast the pratfall loop goes. Then you have these. So one important thing about crouch. The crouch animation you can see here is 6 frames. However, these values total to 5. This is how many frames each part of crouch takes. The startup frames, so it's 2 frames of the crouch, this one and this one. And then you have the the idle crouch. Idle crouch will loop if you give it more than 1 frame. And then you have the standing up. Due to some jank in Rival's code, what happens is that if there wasn't this extra frame, it would display the first frame again. So a way to fix it is just add an extra frame that's a copy of the last one and setting this up as if that frame wasn't there. It's also written here. These are for jumps. This is how long you'll stay in double jump. It doesn't matter as much since double jump is a non-committed state. It's more so related to how long your double jump animation should last. The same for the wall jump. Since like double jump and wall jump are both states you can do anything out of. So it is more about how long they'll last. This is wall cling. You can set it to true if you want, and this will allow your character to cling to walls. They will uncling after a while. These 3 variables are come from Tester. They're not, if you look at them here, you can see that these are not variables that can be found on the manual. This is because these are all custom variables that Tester gives you that allow you to control the cling better. out of the box. Then there's the parry, so the startup, the active part of parry, which is this frame, and then you have the end lag, which is the rest of the animation. This doesn't have the same problems as crouch, and importantly, the startup for the parry is too short to give it more than one frame. Active you can give more than one, though it depends on how good it looks. This is like 2 frames, like gameplay frames. So there really isn't much time to show anything animation wise. Keep it at 1. Air dodges, so how much you stay in each part of air dodge. So there's the startup, the active part, which is the invincible part, and then the remaining 3 frames are for the end lag in this case. Then you have the roll control, which is same thing as air dodge, startup, active, and recovery. So active is when you're invincible. Then tech frames, same as roll, active and recovery. And then you have tech roll, which can just use the same as roll. Next you have hurt boxes. So this is the standard hurt box, which is the one you will use on movement animations. You can set one for the ground, that's one that's used universally. Then you can have one for crouch, one for the air, though the tester uses the ground one, and one for when you're in hit stun, though tester still uses the base one. It's important to have it cover as much of the idle as possible. It doesn't matter if it becomes offset while like doing movement. It's more of a consistency thing. It matters more for attacks. You'll see later for attack hurt boxes. Next, you have the victory theme and background. The windscreen can be any sprite, though the size needs to be 480 by 270. Otherwise, it won't read properly. The victory theme can be any sound. Then you have these. These are the movement sound effects. Like this is the sound, the landing sound, the landing lag, wave land, jump, double jump, and air dodge. If I were to like change the landing sound, right now I'm getting one from the base Rivals library. You can put custom ones by using, instead of asset get, you do sound get, though there are no other sounds in tester, so this will throw an error. You can give it any sound. So in this case, nothing, because the tester template doesn't come with a victory theme. It just comes with silence. Oh yeah, same for these. If you want to get them, you just do, if you want to get like a custom sprite for it, you just do sprite get. The sprite for hurt boxes, it's important that they are named _hurt at the end before _strip. So like in the case of tester, it would be like idle hurt. Like you can see here, there _hurt _strip. This is because the hurt at the end tells Rivals that it is a hurt box and that it needs to be processed differently for it to work properly. Then you have these, which are just visual offsets for Rando's bubble. 0 and 8 usually work fine, though it's up to you to change them if you need something different. Everything else in tester is all custom stuff except, oh yeah, these are things that were added recently. This is for Olympia when you're in the crystal state, that resizes the sprite properly when you're in the crystal. This will turn your double jumps to raster double jumps in terms of visual effect. And this is for the fidget animation. This is how long it takes for it to start, this is how long it lasts, and this is the sprite to use. It will simply replace idle if you stay idle for too long, like Smash. The rest here is all tester stuff that's admittedly very useful, but we will not cover it right now. Now, when it comes to custom variables, you simply, when you want to create a custom variable, you simply type the name of the variable and set it to a value, for example, and now you have a custom variable. All variables should be initialized in init. Last thing we need to tackle before the end is the number of character animations. This is a handy checklist made by Huponia. You can find it on the GitHub in this lessons page as well as templates. It's very useful. It helps you keep track of what you've made for the character. This is the list of all the animations you usually need for your character. The grayed out ones are the ones that are technically unnecessary. For example, landing leg can just reuse land. Pratfall can usually just reuse certain frames of jump. It doesn't need a custom animations per se. Roll backward can just reuse roll forward, and the aerial versions of specials aren't necessary if the special animation works when you're airborne as well. Okay, that should be all. Next time we will tackle how to set up basic attacks and how windows and hitboxes work. See you!